Page 44. The Chamber Pot. So, how did it go with Mr. Creeper? Amelia's mother asked from her bed between coughs as Amelia dealt with the chamber pot. She took the pot, opened the window, and dumped its contents into the street. "Ow! Watch out!" yelled the man below. "Whoops, sorry," said Amelia. Then she turned back to her mother and lied. It was all right at Mr. Creeper's. She didn't want to upset her mother with the truth. "I'm glad you liked him," her mother said faintly, struggling for breath. "I wouldn't go that far, Ma. Did you get the fidgy pudding?" Amelia said nothing. "I don't think I'll be able to eat tomorrow anyway." Her mother was clearly struggling, but was determined to speak. "He has a workhouse, Mr. Creeper." "Listen, Amelia," she whispered. "I'm not long for this world." Amelia could feel the tears in her eyes and tried to blink them away so her mother couldn't see. "Ma, don't talk like that. It's the truth." "But, Ma..." "Now let me finish. When I die, I want you to be looked after. I don't want you out on the streets. And even if you keep up your chimney sweeping, you won't be able to stay here. So I've spoken with Mr. Creeper." Amelia felt her whole body go stiff with terror, and it had nothing to do with the bedbugs she could see crawling over the bedsheets. "Stop this talk, Ma. You're going to get better." Her mother coughed again. The cough lasted a long time. "You'll be safe there." Amelia put the chamber pot back under the mother's bed. She stared at one of the bugs crawling on the sheets, going around in circles, before Captain Sweet swiped it dead with his paw. She looked at her cat. He looked back at her. Captain Sweet's glassy eyes were wide with shock at the conversation. Amelia doubted that cats were allowed in workhouses, and even if they were, she never wanted Captain Sweet or herself to end up there, especially since Captain Sweet really seemed to dislike Mr. Creeper. "Come on, Ma. It's Christmas Day tomorrow. Magic will happen. You'll see. You've just got to believe. Christmas is when miracles can happen. Just wait, I promise." And Amelia smiled and thought of the letter she had sent Father Christmas. She tried her very hardest to believe a miracle could happen, and that, even in a world full of people like Mr. Creeper, magic was always possible. Page 49. Her mother's hand. Quite a short but very sad chapter. It was an hour later. Amelia knelt and held her mother's hand. She was getting worse minute by minute. Amelia couldn't help but think of all the other, happier times she had held her mother's hand. Walking along the river, going to the fair, or when she was little and her mother would hold her hand after she had a bad dream. She remembered her mother's finger doing circles on her palm as she sang "Ring Around the Rosie" in a soft voice to help her sleep. Her mother didn't speak much now because it seemed to take too much energy, but Amelia could see from her mother's frown that she had something to say. Her mother shook her head. "Amelia, my love, I'm afraid this is the end." She was breathing slowly. She looked as pale as milk. "But you're not coughing." Her mother smiled the faintest of smiles. Amelia could tell it was a great effort for her mother to speak. "Life will get better for you one day," she told her daughter, as she had told her many times recently. "Life is like a chimney. You sometimes have to get through the dark before you see the light." And her mother smiled a weak smile and closed her eyes, and Amelia felt the hand she was holding grow heavy. "Ma, you can't die. I won't let you. Dying is absolutely forbidden. Do you hear me?" Jane Wishart closed her eyes. Be a good girl. And that was the last thing Amelia's mother ever said to her. There was no sound to be heard except the tick-tock of the clock out on the landing and the sound of sadness weeping out of Amelia. Page 51. The Barometer of Hope. Father Christmas walked hurriedly through the workshop. Elves were swarming around him. "Is that the infinity sack?" A short, burly elf asked him, pointing to the sack he was holding. Yes, it is, Rollo. It doesn't look very big. No, it isn't big, but it is infinite. You could fit a whole world in. And then the ground started to shake. Elves looked at each other with wider than usual eyes. Hobby horses clanked onto the ground. Toy carts slid back and forth across the stone floor. Rollo fell over hundreds of balls rolling across the floor and landed on his, fortunately, large and cushiony bottom. Then it went quiet and still again. What was that? Said Rollo. I'm scared, said Dimple. Bella started to cry. Father Christmas turned to everyone. Just a little tremor, folks. Nothing to worry about. Even the ground gets excited near Christmas. Carry on as normal. We have a very big day and night ahead of us. And then Father Christmas swung the infinity sack over his shoulder and traveled up the chimney to the top floor of the workshop tower, to the toy shop headquarters. The moment Father Christmas stepped out of the chimney and into the toy workshop headquarters, he saw the wise old elf Father Topo standing on the stone floor and stroking his long white mustache. All well, Father Topo, said Father Christmas. Not exactly, Father Christmas. Didn't you feel the ground shake just then? I thought the whole tower was going to collapse. Well, I felt a little tremor, but it will be fine. It must be all the magic in the air. About that, said Father Topo. Look at the barometer of hope. It should be bursting with light. He pointed at the barometer of hope, a small round glass jar positioned on a pole in the center of the room. The barometer of hope usually glowed with the dazzling display of multicolored, gently moving light, green, purple, blue. This light had been scooped up by Father Christmas from the northern lights in the sky above Finland. On Christmas Eve, the light should almost be blinding, since it was fueled by magic that grew out of hope and the goodness of elves, humans, and all creatures. But when Father Christmas looked up at the barometer of hope on this day, there was just a faint wisp of glowing green, flickering like a weak flame. Oh, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, Father Christmas said. It's glowing a little bit. It will pick up through the day. Come on, Father Topo, cheer up. All the letters are still getting through. Just at that moment, the normally smiling Mother Sparkle from the letter room ran into the headquarters, breathless. Something's going wrong. None of the letters are getting through to us. I've just heard from the letter catcher. They're not getting over the mountain. Father Christmas smiled. Oh, well, the letters aren't getting through, and there is a little glitch with the barometer of hope. It's not going to stop A distant but quite loud noise interrupted him, a roaring, crunching kind of noise. Father Christmas headed to the large window. In the distance, he could see devastation on the street of 7 curves. Whole houses were collapsing or disappearing into the ground. Elves were running along the cracking street in terror. Father Christmas gasped, and in no time at all the Mother Sparkle and Father Topo were by his side. Father Topo pulled his telescope from his top pocket. He saw a family running amid the chaos. Oh no, Noosh, humdrum, little Mim! Noosh was Father Topo's great-great-great-great-great-granddaughter, and the elf he loved most in the world. It wasn't just the street of 7 curves that was under attack. The buildings of the main path were going under too. Workers from the Bank of Chocolate ran for their lives just before the bank was swallowed up into the ground. Father Christmas could see something else. Where the Bank of Chocolate had once stood, he saw something crash through the heap of bricks and dust. First, a huge swath of what looked like wild black hair was poking out of the ground. And then, slowly, a warty forehead, the kind of forehead that could only belong to a troll. Father Christmas saw a rock flying through the air, coming from beyond the hills. It was heading... Oh no, it was heading straight for Toy Workshop. It smashed through the window. Father Christmas pushed Mother Sparkle over and landed on top of her as the rock struck the floor. Now, Father Christmas was a lot larger and heavier than an elf, so he squashed Mother Sparkle, but it was better and softer than being squashed by the rock. He got to his feet and went to the control desk and looked at the buttons and pressed the red one that said in really little letters, "Very serious emergency." The bell above his head at the top of the tower started swinging at hyperspeed. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. And it was then that Father Christmas noticed the barometer of hope had smashed on the floor. The last green wisp of magical light rose toward him and disappeared into the air right in front of his face. Page 58. The Flying Story Pixie. So this was Elfham on Christmas Eve. Shaking earth, troll heads smashing up from below, rocks and stones flying overhead, buildings collapsing, Christmas pudding flying out of the Fiji Pudding Cafe, chocolate coins scattering on the ground, elves carrying their children and running, the sleigh bells holding their instruments over their heads to avoid the raining rocks. "Elves!" boomed Father Christmas. "Run to the reindeer field, everyone! Head to the reindeer field!" Father Topo was beside Father Christmas, hugging Noosh and little Mim. "Oh no," said Humdrum as the ground started to wobble beneath their feet again. Noosh covered her son's eyes. Then the bulk of the toy workshop collapsed into the ground. Father Christmas saw something rising out of the wreckage. One, then two. No, actually 3 trolls. These weren't the big whoopee trolls. They were under-trolls, only 3 times the size of Father Christmas, and 9 times the size of an average elf. Well, technically, there were 4 of them, because one of them had 2 heads. Another had only 1 eye. The third looked quite normal for a troll, except for the one large yellow tooth sticking out from the side of her mouth. But each had warty rough skin and rotten teeth and dirty rags made from goatskin for clothes. The one-eyed troll held a rock high in the air and let out a deep, thunderous roar. He was looking at the one remaining building in Elfham that wasn't yet destroyed, the 5-story offices of the Daily Snow. He was about to throw the rock. "Listen, trolls, we mean you no harm," Father Christmas said. The 2-headed troll grabbed the one-eyed troll's arm. "No, Thud," the 2-headed troll said. Thud shrugged and put his arm down. "Thank you," said Father Christmas. "We just want a peaceful Christmas. We have no interest in the Troll Valley. Please." It was just at that point that Father Christmas heard something fluttering above. He looked up to see a creature about similar size and shape as the Truth Pixie. But this creature had wings, 4 wings in total, 2 sets of 2. They were light and nearly see-through. They shone like glass, and the sun gleamed off them. "A flying story pixie," said Noosh, who knew her pixies almost as well as she knew her trolls. This pixie was circling around and giggling as she looked at all the mess the trolls had created. She flew down close to Thud's head. Father Christmas saw this and thought it was strange. Then the pixie disappeared, fast through the sky, heading into the trees on the snowy slopes of the pixie territory. "Be no Christmas this year," said Thud blankly. "No Christmas." "What is your problem with Christmas?" wondered Father Christmas, perhaps a little unwisely, as Thud was still holding the rock. "I thought trolls liked Christmas." Thud said nothing. Instead, he looked in this distance, somewhere toward all the elves in the reindeer field. Then he made a massive grunting sound as he threw the rock high, high, high in the air. Everyone stared at the rock as it kept on going. "Oh no," Father Topo said softly. But Father Christmas could see where the rock was headed, not to the elves, not to the reindeer, not to the Daily Snow, but toward the field where his sleigh was parked. The rock landed with a smash that could be heard a mile away. Thud and the other trolls stamped their feet in a crazy fashion, as if doing a kind of wild troll dance. "It's signal," Noosh said. She'd read about storm signals in the Complete Trollpedia while training to be a journalist. Below the earth, there was another loud troll roar. Stand back, everyone, Noosh warned, knowing what the sound was. Then, pow! A giant fist burst up through the ground. The gray fist alone was the size of one huge under-troll. Humdrum was now crouched in a ball on the ground, doing his breathing exercises, while little Mim said, "It's all right, Daddy." "Orgula, the supreme troll leader," whispered Noosh. The fist disappeared back down into the ground, leaving nothing but a hole. Then the three above-ground trolls jumped, one after the other, down the hole, and the ground shook when they landed in the cave somewhere below. Father Christmas looked around at all the worried elves and the destroyed buildings and the collapsed toy workshop, and waited for a few moments. Everything was still. The trolls had left them alone. "They've gone," he said, and he heard Little Mim's faint mumble as he looked at the state of Elfham. "Everything's gone." Father Christmas watched as a bouncy ball dropped out of the wreckage and rolled toward his feet. Not quite everything.